And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101 on a Wednesday evening. David Hinds here with you. It's uh, it's always quite exciting. Some people would describe it as, but there's never a dull moment of politics in Guyana. Politics 101, of course, will take you behind the news. Welcome to you if you're joining us from Guyana, if you're joining us from the wider Caribbean, further afield in the diaspora in the United States, Canada, the rest of North America. If you're joining us from Europe, in particular the United Kingdom, welcome to Politics 101. Wherever you are, welcome to Politics 101. Sorry, yesterday we were off. Please share the link. Please share the link. One of those days yesterday, lots was happening and we just couldn't get on. Sorry, we missed yesterday. Please share the link. Tonight, we are going to be talking about the latest scandal in the force, the latest scandal in the police force. We're going to have Politics 101 take on it. Two guys who have been on top of it, and you would have seen them on their own shows, but they're going to be coming here tonight for us to put this in its larger perspective. I'm talking about no other than Kidaki Amsterdam of Buxtonian Morning Time and Rickford Burke of Conversation with Rickford Burke. They're going to be joining me at around 7 o'clock. At around 7 o'clock. And while we're at it, starting tomorrow, we will be shifting our program to 7 o'clock. We usually get started at 6:30. But starting from tomorrow, we'll start at 7. We have had to adjust because of the scheduling problems. Well, not problems, but scheduling changes. So that as of tomorrow, Politics 101 would be on from 7 o'clock until further notice. 7 o'clock starting tomorrow. But please share the link. Please share the link. Tonight we are going to be talking about a scandal in the police force. And since this is Politics 101, we'll be looking at what? The politics of the scandal, the implications, the political implications of what's happening in the police force. What are the political links? How compromised the present government is. Now, we know from the PPP's term in office, 1992 to 2015, police scandals went to an all-time high. And then they left office. They were pushed out of office electorally. And then they were installed 2 years ago. And the minute they were installed, police scandals start again. Scandal in the police family. Whole Calypso scandal in the family. I think it was I can't remember. I'm trying to remember the Calypsonian. His name is at the tip. One of the greats of Calypso. Scandal in the family. Melody, Lord Melody. Lord Melody. Scandal in the family. Scandal in the family. And so tonight, we're going to be talking about that scandal. Why are there so many police scandals under the PPP? Politics 101, we're talking about the politics of the scandal. I'm sure the other shows would have taken you through the policing and all of that stuff and the legal stuff. I saw my brother Nigel Hughes making the rounds last night, and he would have been explaining the legal ramifications of this latest scandal. And tonight we're going to be talking about the political ramifications of the scandal. The PPP is obsessed with the police force. The PPP is obsessed with the police force. And I'm saying here that any scandal in the police force has to be placed at the doorstep of the government, the ruling party, the PPP, because they are obsessed with the police force. Share the link, please. Share the link. It has been since we were on last Thursday, quite a bit. We visited Victoria. I was able to spend some time in Victoria over the weekend, trying to deal with the problems of roads. Victoria is a very deep village, very deep. I think along with Pleasance and Ansgrove there on these coasts. They're very deep villages, which means Victoria has 3 main roads, 2 sideline dams, and a middle walk. You know, if you were to go to a place like Buxton, they have 2 sideline dams, and then they have Friendship Middle Walk, Company Road, and Buxton Middle Walk. So it's a very wide village. But Pleasance and Victoria and Ansgrove, they're narrow villages, but they're deep. They go deep inside. So Victoria has 3 roads. But if you visit that village, you might as well say it has 1 road. The 2 sideline dams are really not roads. They're not dams. It's difficult for cars to drive down those roads. Taxis don't go there. We were able to talk to the people who live on both roads. I tried to drive down those roads. It took me forever and then did some tremendous damage to the bottom of my car, but I wanted to see for myself. Both the east sideline dam and the west sideline dam are not roads. What it means is that our first village has 1 road that the people have access to. Those of you who tuned into Buxton in morning time would have been able to see some of the pictures. 1 road. So the 2 sideline dams are in bad shape. We were able to meet with the people on both the west and east sideline and to get from them. And you hear horror stories. When you take into consideration the roads don't have light, that makes it worse. No, don't have street lights. So cars can't drive on the road. What it means is that taxis are not going there. If people buy groceries or whatever they have to do, they have to fetch it on those roads. We heard stories of barrels, people's barrels not being dropped off because the delivery trucks couldn't drive on the road and they just dropped the people barrel on the road, or they threatened to take it back. We heard of people dying, and the horses can't drive down the roads. Funerals, of course, are out of the question. We heard of people sick, and they had to lift them to the middle walk. Terrible. In our first village, Victoria, I was there. This is not what somebody told me. I was there. I went there along with Brother Kidaki Amsterdam. We met with the villagers. Yesterday, we were able to call the regional chairman and the deputy regional chairman or vice chairman, both APNU people, Daniel Siram and Mr. Sandy. And I called them while I was there and said, are you aware of these roads? They both said they were aware of the roads. I said, well, I want you all to come and talk to these people. The people, of course, had invited Brother Kidaki to go there. They had a picketing exercise. And then they invited us in our capacity as WPA. And we went there. And when I saw and heard from those people, I picked up the phone and I called those two people because they are in control of Region 4. And we arranged for them to meet with the people on Monday afternoon. The chairman didn't show up. The vice chairman did. And the PNC representative for the region showed up to talk to those people. Now, here is my point. We political people cannot sit back and say, well, the PPP not doing the roads in the Black communities. That's a fact. That's a fact. We know that. But what are we doing? What are we doing? We have control of Region 4. What are we doing? That is why in front of the people there, I called the chairman and the vice chairman. And as I said, I asked them, are you aware of the state of this village in terms of its infrastructure? And I asked them to visit the village and to speak with the people. As I said, the chairman didn't show up. I know he had another meeting in Buxton, but he promised me that he would attend the meeting in Victoria before he went to Buxton. He didn't show up. I haven't spoken to him since. The vice chairman was there. And the PMC representative was there. I am glad that she showed up. Because people are complaining that they don't see their representatives. So that experience in Victoria must be a lesson to us. If our people are being denied infrastructural development, what are we who call ourselves the representatives of the people, what are we doing about it? Yes, we don't have power at the level of the central government, but we do have power in some regions. It's not any big power because the allocation of resources to the regions is determined by the central government. But you cannot have control of a region and you are not dealing in a proactive way with the problems of your supporters. I am not the type who get into bashing MPs and all of that thing. I'm not into that kind of politics. But sometimes our people, all they want is to do is to see us. As I said, we went there on Thursday. I think I reported there on Thursday night. We went to the East Sideline Dam. And on Sunday, we went to the West Sideline Dam and sat there with those people and listened to them, the experiences of those people. It's like living on an island on those dams. We have to get in there with our people. We have to use whatever resources we have at the regional level, whatever resources we have at the NDC level, and whatever resources we can raise from our own supporters. We can't sit down there and wait until we win another election. This is, as I said, I am not into bashing MPs and bashing the opposition. I'm not into that. I notice Diane is on. She's from Buxton. She says Buxton is in the house. Yes, Diane, I am not into bashing opposition. I think at a critical moment, we have to work together, whether we agree or disagree with one another. But I am saying this message of election is 3 years away. If we win the petition, it could be earlier. But this thing of saying we can only help our people after election, I don't think it's the right kind of message. We have to get into our communities. First of all, we have to apologize to our people, because some of our people are expressing regret that we did not do more. The coalition did a whole lot. But if your people are saying that they think you didn't do enough, you have to listen to them. And I think you have to apologize to them. That's the first thing. The second thing, you have to console them, because they're seeing hell under this regime. And thirdly, you have to make things happen for them. Wherever you have some power, use it to help them. And I've said here tonight, I think the opposition, wherever they control the regions or the MDCs, should be able to take those little resources there and to make it bring some relief to our people. And we should go among the people, sit with them, and work out how they can help themselves, and how those of us who are doing better, like those of us in the diaspora, how can we help? There's a cross street going from the Middle Walk to the West Sideline Dam. The people start to do it by self-help. And it got to a certain point, they couldn't do it anymore. So there is no road linking the sideline, no middle street, linking the main road or the Middle Walk road to the sideline dam at a particular spot. The others that link, they are bad roads, The road, the one that we drove to get to the sideline dam, was bad, is bad. But I'm talking about one there that's not completed. So the people who live around that area on the sideline don't have access to even walk to get to the sideline because the road is not finished. How about if we go in there, leaders, and they say, look, we got some money at the region left over. Finish this road. We got some money at the MDC. Finish this little street so those people can walk from the sideline to the middle walk and vice versa. Why don't we help them to raise some funds? Let's start doing the road via self-help. So I have learned some lesson by visiting communities. When I'm in Guyana, as I was, and I am, for 3.5 months, you spend that time in the communities with the people. And I want to urge my colleagues, and I say they're my colleagues because I am not an elected official. I don't belong to the PNC. I belong to the WPA. But I consider all of us colleagues because we are in this fight together. And I wish sometime my party had access to more resources. But as I said, in front of the people, I called the regional chairman and the deputy regional chairman. I also called the opposition leader and spoke to him in the presence of the people. The opposition leader had visited the community. I understand they walked him along the main road, and one of the sideline dam, they didn't carry him to the other sideline dam. In fact, the one sideline dam they took him to only another part, only one part, not everybody. And those people said they would like to see their leaders. They were very glad that we went. I'm going to bring those people on here to tell their story on this program. Victoria is our first village. It's our first village. And our first village should not be treated in that way. No village should be treated in that way. But by God, the first village, the infrastructure in that village is terrible. It's a shame. It's a shame. And as I said, yes, the central government is starving African Guyanese villages of resources. But we who call ourselves leaders or activists on our side cannot just sit back and complain about it. While there, I advise the people, I am not into the business of telling people to join political parties. Probably it's a fault. I advise the people to organize themselves into community groups. What Walter Rodney called self-activity. Organize yourself. And so we were able to get those two groups of people to organize themselves into community groups, one on the west and one on the east. And I hope the politicians don't go there and try to dirty it, because we want to instill in our people to do things for themselves insofar as it is possible. You see, when you organize yourself and you win victories, you you cherish it more. As I said, we sat there. I could not listen to people telling me how they're suffering. They can't move their dead. They can't get transportation to take them to where they live. Women who work at nights have to walk through lots, walk through people's yard, dog rushing them to buy them, and then have to walk home late at night, 11, 12 o'clock on a dark, bumpy road. I could not sit there and just criticize the people. And so I called the men who were elected by these people and said, are you aware? Yes, we are aware. Come and talk to these people. Come and talk to these people. And the people were glad for that initiative taken by us. And we advised them. We said, form yourself into a group. We have to organize. We can't just sit down and wait for election day to come. And the people organize themselves. One group said, for the first time, a leader went there, and before he left, there was action. And they named themselves a community action group. I'm not saying, one party is better than a party, another party or one leader is better than another. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I take community self-activity very seriously. I belong to a party, but there is a time for party work and there is a time for community work. And I could not leave there and tell those people, you all will hear from me. I couldn't do that. We couldn't do that, myself and Brother Kidaki. And so they had a meeting on Monday. They spoke with the deputy of Region 4. The PNC representative was there. We didn't say, well, is WPA come and meet with these people, so let WPA deal with the problem. I called them. I called the leader of the PNC. Because we're not into this party business, I would be very glad for people to join our party. I have always said that. But there is a time when you deal with people's issues. You deal with the community. And I want to set that example to our comrades, to our colleagues. This is not the time for party competition. This is the time to help our people survive this onslaught. And we intend to go to all the communities that it is possible for us to go. As I said, we don't have the resources to do more. With more resources, we will be able to do more, to visit more communities. I'm employed outside of Guyana. But every little moment I get, I go home to Guyana. I spend approximately 5.5 months in Guyana each year and more when the time permits. I hear they're having some kind of big debate that you have to live in Guyana to know about Guyana, or that kind of foolishness. There's no requirement no residency requirement to be part of your people's struggle. And so don't let anybody make those of us, those of you who live outside, to feel any sense of guilt. And so this issue of bringing relief to our people, no, I don't like the rhetoric of election and not dealing with now. Of course, we got to win an election. Of course, we got to win the next election. Of course, we got to get in campaign mode. But we have to be in survival mode also. A campaign mode without a survival mode, we're in trouble. Our people have to be, they have to get relief now. How can we have a village with one functioning road? And so, sisters and brothers, that's Victoria. You know, we're going to have those sisters and brothers. We're going to have a panel of them on the program next week, and let them tell their stories. Let them tell their stories. We're open to go to communities and to listen to people and to try to work out with them how you can get immediate relief. As I said, there is that cross street that the people do it by self-help, 3/4 way. It needs to be done 1/4 way. Can we not do that now? Can we not get our people back in the self-help mode? Which, of course, like I said, they build 3/4 the street by self-help. But what about those of us who are not from the village, who are in the diaspora? What about us pitching in? Our leaders must go into our communities and work with our people. This cry that people in the communities have not seen our political people since election is not good news. It's not good news. And so that's what I wanted to discuss with us tonight before I bring on my guest, for us to talk about scandal in the police family. Scandal in the family. Police scandal, another one. Another one. Another one. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the politics of it. There is the legal side of it. There is the policing side of it. And there is the political side of it. That's what we're on. Good night to all of you. Sorry about last night. We weren't on last night, but we're going to make up for it. Sorry about that. Sunday night, I forgot to tell you, Sunday night we were in Buxton after the meeting with the people in Victoria. We were in Buxton for the UC Quayana Symposium. Full house and very spirited presentations. You know, Winston Jordan was there, and Henry Jeffrey and Amanza Walton, and I pitched in as a local person and so forth. And we need to continue to educate and mobilize. My message on Sunday night was, we want power now. We want power now. Whatever way you want to coin it, whether you call it power sharing or power what, without power, without the ability, without the capacity to be at the table to distribute resources. That's what power is. When one party is at the table deciding how all of we money, all of we resources is being determined, means that decisions that affect you, you are not at the table making it. I know we have been weaned and educated and socialized that one party win an election and that party governs and the opposition oppose. So in an ethnic society, what that means is one ethnic group wins and use the power to determine for everybody, and the other ethnic group opposes. So you all black people are opposers because you all are from the opposition. And when we talk about sharing power, you all say you all don't want that because you all think you all sharing PPP power or sharing APNU power. You get a piece of land, mommy and daddy left the piece of land, children property. You get you share, your sissy get she share, your body get he share. And it doesn't matter whether you like your sissy or you like your body or you all the stock or whatever, it's children property. Guyana is children property. The power to determine what happens in the children property must be for all the children. Y'all black people got to get out of this business. Which means me getting my share won't work. The logic is what takes you there. It's better to get your half of the loaf than somebody get your half. And right now the PPP get your half of the loaf. Your half of the loaf. And my position is very clear. Power, no. Power, no. I introduced the concept of internal reparations. Reparations must not be only from the descendants of the slave master. Reparations must be from our own government. Because our own government took over from the colonials and the slave master. They got resources now to help us repair. That's what reparations mean, repair. Internal reparations and external reparations. That's what we're talking about. The police commissioner is not accountable to us. The court just ruled that although the doctrine of necessity was not applicable, this court just ruled that the PPP had the power to appoint him. He is not accountable to us. All the big ones in the police force, they're not accountable to us. That is why they feel they can shoot us and get away with it. But when you have power, they have to be accountable. Power, no. So we're going to talk about this story with the police force. This story with the police force, the politics of it. Let me bring in my guests, no strangers, therefore no introduction. Rickford Burke, Kidaki, Amsterdam. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening to you, Dr. Hinds. Good evening, Mr.
Good evening,
Burke.
sir.
All right.
Good night, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
All right, yes, man.
I'm 6'5". Why you guys look so tall above me?
It's the angle.
I need a higher chair.
Yeah. Listen, I know you all been working overtime on this story. Um, I know you all have dealt with the policing side of the story. Rickford, you may have even contributed to the legal side of the story. So I don't want the police side and the legal. I want the political. What does this mean political? As I said, I think ultimately the problems of the police force are myriad. They are vast. But ultimately, for me, it is the politicization of the police force that is at the heart of the problem with the force. On Sunday night, I made the point in Buxton. Emancipation happened in 1838. The police force was created in 1839. There's no accident between the end of enslavement and the creation of a police force. Prior to that, you didn't need a police force because the slave master owned those people. Those people were his property. He was the police. So now these people are free. Why you need a police force? Well, you need a police force to police these people that the slave master used to police himself. And the motto of serve and protect was not to serve and protect the ex-slaves, but serve and protect the ex-slave masters. And so the origins of the police force continue throughout colonialism. And unless somebody said somewhere that the socialization of the police force, the origins of the police force, the nature of the police force will be drastically changed, we, 184 years later, will be suffering the effect. It's not an accident that the police don't shoot down all poor people. They shoot down black poor people, not Indian poor people or Amerindian. They were not created for that. They were created to police black people. And there has not been any concerted effort to change that orientation and that culture. And so the police force was socialized to protect and serve the rulers. And when the colonial rulers left, the new rulers are whom the police force is serving and protecting. That's my introduction. For those of our people here who don't know the fine story, Rickford give us an overview about the story. And then once you finish with the overview, we can move into the analysis. Over to you, Mr. Burke.
Well, we became familiar with this story after Sergeant Boston, Dion Boston, who is a homicide investigator with the Major Crimes Unit, came forward and said that he was part of the investigation of the Paper Shorts murder, and that there had been a cover-up, that they had virtually cracked the case, went to arrest someone, somebody tipped off the person that they potentially went to arrest, and that person eluded the police, and subsequently the person called his phone and threatened him. And that after he began talking, and there was talk within the Major Crime Unit about what seemed to be obstruction of the case by senior officers, namely, he named Superintendent Mitchell Caesar And he also said that he was told that Caesar had received some sort of bribe to cover up the matter. Subsequent to his first video, Mitchell did an interview, I think, with Newsroom and denied that. And then he made a subsequent video standing by his allegations that there was obstruction, that even though they went to arrest this man, that they were pursuing this man, and the man works for Muhammad's enterprise named Mark Richmond, that nothing was done to bring in this person. And that subsequently, once the talk about this cover-up and questions were being asked within CID, they were transferred. He and a number of persons who were working on the case were transferred. Now, independent of that, we had received information over a month ago that this matter was being covered up. And that we received information subsequently that during the period when this investigation was ongoing, after these men went to arrest Mark Richmond, and after Mark Richmond allegedly threatened Sergeant Dion Bascom, Muhammad Enterprises suffered a armed robbery at one of its subsidiaries. And the robbers stole gold. And Mohammed aided the police in this investigation by loaning them vehicles. And this was during the investigation, but after they went to arrest him and after he allegedly threatened Sergeant Dion Bascom. Mohammed sent these vehicle keys, the vehicle and the keys, to CID headquarters with the suspect, allegedly Mark Richmond. And Mark Richmond walked into Superintendent Caesar's office, delivered the keys, walked out back, and then went and picked them up back after the exercise was finished. That, to me, is the most important matter here, Dr. Hinds. All the other stuff, he said, she said, whatever the police is debunking. The police up to now cannot comment on whether it is true or not. The suspect that CID was pursuing as being involved in this murder walked straight into CID, delivered keys to vehicles that Mohammed's enterprise loaned them, and walked out back and then went and picked them up back. And all this time when these loaner vehicles were with the major crime unit, one of the proprietors or one of the owners, Azruddin Mohammed, was allegedly also being investigated as a suspect or the mastermind in this case. That's a major issue here that the police must answer, and there should be an investigation. That's the main allegation. Outside of the fact that Mr. Caesar took bribe, allegedly, Sergeant Dion Bascom said he was told. Bascom never, to me, I heard him accuse him, said he was told that Caesar took somebody to cover up this case. Outside of that, that's something hard to prove, unless you want to go into financials and all of that. The main issue here, which is very easy, a simple investigation can discover that. Did Mohammed Enterprises loan CID, and particularly Major Crimes Unit, under the supervision of Superintendent Caesar, vehicles during the period of time the owner and employee, Mark Richmond, was under investigation? And after they went to arrest him, and after he allegedly threatened one of the lead investigators in this case, did that happen? That's what we want to know, because if that happened, then we know the investigation was definitely compromised.
All right, let me bring in Kidaki Amsterdam. Kidaki, is there anything you would like to add by way of what we know thus far in relation to this incident or this story?
What can I add? I think Mark, I think report was very clear in outlining basically what this story is all about. But what can I add? I can add that Mark Richmond, what's his name? Mark Bascom Yes.
Dion Bascom.
Dion Bascom.
No,
Dion
Dion.
Bascom.
Oh, I'm talking about the alleged murder. Bascom. Bascom
No,
said
Bascom
that.
is the police.
Yes. Bascom, I'm talking about. Bascom said that he chose to go public on this matter because he felt that his life was at stake. He received a call that said your photo was placed out there. You were associated with this drug bust because the intention is to murder you and blame it on this drug fallout. This is not far-fetched. Given what I would say past occurrences in the Ghana police force. So that's not far-fetched. The allegations of or the hearsay about bribe taking. It's not the first time I'm hearing about that bribe taking. Immediately after the murder of Paper Shorts, words on the street was that a certain policeman who was responsible for investigating major crime was involved in major crimes himself. And at the time, I can't recall if it was 34 or $64 million. That is the figure that was being tossed around on the street to get rid of the evidence. It's not far-fetched because CCTV cameras that were in that area couldn't they couldn't find the footage to identify the vehicle and the what should I say, the travel pattern of the vehicle. They couldn't reveal that. But there are many other instances where by the drop of a hat, the police was able to pull and publish footage from these CCTV cameras to show what really occurred, right? So that I can add. I can add by listening to Bascom that he has more credibility in my mind than all of the top echelons of the Ghana police force. By the way, they hosted a press conference this afternoon. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yes, I saw the press conference.
Good. So that is what I can add. It's ludicrous to say the least.
Okay. All right. Let's get now behind and get to the politics of it. My thesis is that so long as you have a police force that is politicized, then people who have links to the political bosses are going to be using those links, and you'll have a web of corruption and cover-ups and all kinds of things in the police force. If two men allegedly shoot somebody and they escape in a car, and this car was later found on the highway, burnt, the car had to travel from Georgetown to the highway. If a crime happened, wouldn't the police be alerting all the police stations, roadblocks, etc., etc., etc.? How this car meet to the highway? Is one road you can travel to get the East Bank Road. You know, it's not that we have a network of roads. I'm giving that example that there is a web, it seems to me, of corruption in the police force because the police force is politicized. There is a linkage between the political and the organizational leaderships of the police force, the civilian leadership and the uniform leadership. It seems to me there is a web and a linkage between the two that sometimes you don't know who's giving orders in the police force. Is it the political boss or is it the uniform boss? And so, Rickford, politicization of the police force is at the heart of the problems we are seeing in the police force. Do you agree on that?
Absolutely, and the government is capitalizing on it. The government is aware of it. But what the government wants to do is it wants protection from the police force. So it's put those people in there. Remember, Blanham was removed from being crime chief because of alleged corruption and wrongdoing. And the PPP brought him back. Hicken had a cloud over his head. Under no circumstances he should be police commissioner. He commanded a team of police officers that committed murder. The police force seemed to be in bed with certain business people. It seems to me that the businessmen also are calling the shots for the Guyana police force, because what we saw today is a coordinated effort between the business people who are accused, and this is a very serious problem. The police today held a press conference to refute one of their investigators who was investigating a murder. It seemed to me that the police force is defending the alleged murderers who were on the investigation. That's what this press conference was about. And while that press conference was going on, the businessman also issued a statement diverting people's attention from this situation, or attempting to talk about another businessman who's using Dion Bascom. And it seems as though the police was making that statement as well. The police commissioner said that when they get information from the DPP, they would then reveal where Dion Bascom was or whatever. And I have been talking to one of Dion Bascom's colleagues, and I asked just now what that's all about. And I was told that Dion Bascom and Tamis Jagmahan are friends. And they transferred Dion Bascom to Essequibo. And immediately, he didn't have anywhere to stay or whatever it is, and he probably contacted his friend Tamis Jagmahan, who apparently gave him somewhere to stay. Now, if Blanham can be friends with the Mohammeds, if Hicken can be friends with the Mohammeds, if Caesar can be friends with the Mohammeds, to the point where the accused murderer, or the person who's investigated as the alleged murderer, can walk straight into Caesar's office, even though he's being pursued for arrest, and walk right back out, then if Bascom's association with Tamis Jagmahan is wrong, then what about the association of Hicken, Blanham, and Caesar with the Mohammeds? And it seems to me that the Mohammeds are basically determining what is happening in the police force. They're loaning them vehicles, they're giving them vehicles. These people who are investigating them are being transferred. The suspect who works for the Mohammeds is delivering vehicles back and forth to major crimes unit controlled or headed by Superintendent Caesar. What do you expect the public to believe? Now, I don't know the intricate details between Tamis Jagmahan and allegedly and Dion Bascom, and the intricate details between Caesar and the Mohammeds, or Blanham and the Mohammeds. That's why we need an investigation. That's why the police force can investigate this matter. It's a serious allegation. And they held a press conference today, and they didn't answer anything. They just point by point tried to refute what Dion Bascom said, but they didn't bring any evidence. I don't know what they're calling evidence. Here was their evidence. Oh, we have a technical man in the police force, and we got a statement for him debunking what Bascom said. That's not evidence. That's not evidence, Mr. Blenheim. Bring some real facts, and until that, the cloud hangs over the CID that they're corrupt, and the CID is infiltrated and manipulated by the businessman.
Kidaki Amsterdam, the politicization of the police force, or put another way, what Clive Thomas referred to a long time ago as the criminalization of the state. Because as I listen to Rick Ford, I'm hearing businessmen. It seems to me I'm hearing underworld, I'm hearing police, and I'm hearing political people. Politicization of the police force, Kadaki Amsterdam, is that fact or fiction?
You know, I am not a historian, but I am a student of history. I love history because I use history as my teacher and as my guide. So long as the PPP is in office, the police force is politicized. And if you forgot, the PPP has been in office since August 2, 2020. The police force is politicized. There's no question about that. Let me remind viewers and yourselves. And it is not only about politicization of the police force, it is also criminalization. The police force is a part of one big criminal cabal in this country. In the times of the troubles in the 2020s, when they used to have what you call the Taliban and the Phantom Squad and the killing squads and so on, the police force was political and it was criminal. And one of the leaders of the criminal on the world was the political or criminal boss of the police force. That has been established. Roger Khan published in a center page of Kaicho News that he was fighting crime on behalf of the government of Ghana.
PPP government.
PPP government. When Roger Khan was found with the spy laptop and so on, serving policemen were found with him. It is the best known secret in this country that serving policemen were offering protection to Roger Khan and whatever his operation.
And of course, the equipment, the sale, the buying of the equipment was traced to a government minister.
Yes, former Minister Leslie Ramsamy. You see, I'm not usually afraid to call names because this is out there already. I am just reminding people, right? So I am going back there to bring you here now. It is alleged, well, not even an allegation, it is a known fact that some of the names of the people who are being called in this conspiracy, this cover up, this crime by Bascom are big businessmen, politicians, and people with connection to the underground, the underworld. Some of them have given vehicles and other gifts to the Ghana police force. Remember when Paper Shots was murdered and Roger Khan spoke? He said he was told by members of the Ghana police force, boss, this is big. We can't touch this. Right? We can't touch this. And we can't touch it because of the political and other implications. Let me trace the political and other implications to you. Bascom alleges that the man who murdered Fagundes is an employee of the Mohammeds. The Mohammeds are good friends to the sitting president, Irfan Ali. They provide, it is a wide-known secret again, they provided transportation and security detail or resources for him leading up to the elections. And therefore, one would assume that should an investigation be opened into the behavior or misbehavior of any of these family members, then the possibility is obstruction is a phone call away. And Bascom is alleging that that obstruction happened. There are many other instances of where the Ghana police force is clearly, I'm going to give you one as recent as Sunday. A drunken, disorderly minister breached the roadblock, refused to stop, heading from Borbis or wherever he was coming from. When he was finally cornered and was being interrogated by a police rank, he received a call, allegedly, from the acting commissioner of police or whatever his rank is, Clifton Hickins, and the divisional commander, and was told to allow the drunk and disorderly minister to go about his business. If that is not political and politicization of the police force, then I don't know what is.
I think the politicization of the police force, before I come to you, Rickford, goes back to the old notion of the PPP feeling that the police and the army and other armed forces are peopled mostly by people of African descent, and so therefore would not be loyal to the government. And so therefore it's the preoccupation of the PPP to control the leadership of the police force. They tried to get Indian Guyanese to go into the police force, they didn't go. And so therefore, the last straw for them is to control the leadership of the police force, or put another way, to neutralize the police force. So it is automatic that the politicization or the over-politicization of the police force happens when the PPP is in government, because the PPP sees its survival in office as in manipulating the armed forces. It tried, like I said, to get its people to go in. That didn't happen, right? It tried to bribe the low ranks. That didn't happen. And so therefore, here is to control the leadership of the police force and to neutralize the police force, hence the over-politicization of the police force when the PPP is in office. The lawyer has asked for witness protection for Mr. Bascom. There seem to be all kinds of back and forth as far as that is concerned. Rickford, what's the latest with that?
Well, they haven't responded. And the reason why is the police force, as far as I'm concerned, wants Mr. Bascom to be targeted. The police commissioner refused to approve his personal firearm license. They want to remove him from the, well, it's obviously he's going to be interdicted because the police commissioner, even without conducting a trial or whatever it is, claimed that he breached police procedure. They said they have sent the file to the DPP for a prosecution. That's the only, the DPP is not the legal advisor for the police. The police has its own, if the police is sending a file to the DPP, it's for prosecution. So they want to prosecute him. So they want to victimize him because he spoke out. And the law that Nigel asked his attorney, Nigel Hughes, at the president info, allows for, if a whistleblower comes forward in that fashion, to conduct a commission of inquiry or launch a commission of inquiry, and then to provide protection for that person. They're not going to do it because they want, as far as I'm concerned, they want Bascom to be killed. That's why they leaked his phone number to the suspects. That's why they informed the suspect that facilitated his illusion of the police who came to arrest him. One of the other things I want to point out, Dr. Hinds, in furtherance of my argument that the police force is controlled by this rich businessman, or the police force dare not cross them, is this policeman. And the commissioner found himself in a trap today because he was asked by an agent of the businessman who was sent there to the press conference that if the police force allows police officers to moonlight, they're claiming that they're portraying Boston's friendship with, alleged friendship, I don't know for sure, alleged friendship with Tamish Jack Mahan, who's a competitor to Mohammed's because he's also a big gold exporter, that his friendship and association with him is moonlighting, meaning they're implying that he works with him. Now, I don't know if that's true, but the police commissioner did say today that police officers are allowed to do that. He had to say that. You know why? Because the Guyana police force provides escorts for Mohammed's. Every time these guys are moving around, they're moving around with police escorts. You would recall in, I think, 2019 or 2018, I harshly condemned under the coalition the Guyana police force for providing escorts for Mohammed's to go to Bartico for regatta. I condemned it. The police could be solving crimes rather than escorting business people. Let them hire, they have their own security. They could afford private security. Why the Guyana police force has to provide marked vehicle escorts for private citizens? That's number one. So the police force ought to be very careful how they come out and try to attack Sergeant Bascom, because they will be embarrassed. Because the same thing they're accusing him of, they do. They provide security for escorts for Mohammeds. The police commissioner today said that is allowed under the police standing order. If he says so, I guess that is true. The other thing I want to follow up on what Kadaki was talking about is this police force that transforms itself into the personal squad of the PPP whenever they're in power. And as you said, Dr. Hinds, they use the police force to perpetuate themselves in power, or to project power, to project that they're untouchable. And immediately once they go in there, they install their own supporters as head of various, not only the commissioner, but they're so meticulous into these small units of the police force, like the special branch, but not small unit, the different branches, special branch, even the divisions. They want to tell the police how these divisions should operate and who should head them. And that is because they want protection. They want to put people there to protect them. If they have a professional police commissioner who's committed to the rule of law and is committed to ensuring the laws are not only executed, but fairly executed and enforced, there will be arrests in this case. And the police was very clear today to avoid naming whether or not these people are on the investigation. It is simple. If they know, if they say these people were indeed on the investigation, then Boston is right. So they're not saying that. They're talking all sort of things, but they have technical people from abroad. Now belatedly they're saying that. Now belatedly they're saying that. And Dr. Hinds, let me say this. I am not advocating necessarily for justice for paper shorts. Every murder in Guyana should be investigated. But Roger Can is getting a dose of his own medicine, because Roger Can, it is shocking, is calling for justice when he allegedly and his squad murdered hundreds of young Black people without any justice, with impunity. And he was protected by this same PPP government. So he's getting a dose of his own medicine. And I wonder how it feels to be pursued by a killer, because that's what he allegedly did with his death squad. Now, I am not condoning what happened here to paper shorts. I'm not. We have to have law and order in our society, and laws must be maintained and enforced. There was a murder. It should be properly investigated, and it should be solved. The police are claiming that they have cracked the murder, and their supervisors are covering it up. Blanham, and there's another scandal coming, by the way, involving the crime chief. Another scandal coming involving the crime chief. And the fact that the government is not even willing to have a comprehensive investigation. Nobody is not advocating that Dion Bascom should not be investigated. If the police feels that he has breached procedure, breached their code of conduct, or breached the law, it's fair to investigate him. But they also have to investigate the allegations he has made. The police commissioner today elevated the allegations by acknowledging that Dion Bascom is a sergeant. He's a subordinate officer. It therefore means that there's some weight to his allegations because of his rank. That's what the police commissioner said today. So, and I heard Gordon Moses asking the crime chief why he's so dismissive of these charges. You know why? Because the crime chief has job security, because he feels protected by Orphanali and the PPP. If the president and the minister of Home Affairs was based on law and professionalism, holding the police to account, Blanna wouldn't be so comfortable to talk about with arrogance that, oh, everything the guy says a lie or whatever it is, when he said he's not presented any evidence. He presented evidence to verify that Mark Richmond was under investigation, and Mark Richmond, uh, they received the directive from Superintendent Caesar. And then we have independent documentation from the police that police officers sent us showing records that these guys were written up in reports as being the suspects. So the police must say exactly who were the suspects. And if they say that, we will know that Boston is telling the truth. Because if you know they're the suspects, why aren't they arrested?
Politics 101 here, pitching in with its take on this new scandal in the family, the police family we're talking about. That famous calypso, the old timers like myself remember Lord Melody, scandal in the family. Melody sing a lot.
Dr. Hinds, might I add something,
Yes.
if I will? Let me say to the people of Guyana, you determine whether or not you could trust what the police leadership says. You determine if you could trust what Clifford Hickens and Wendell Blanham said. And here why I don't trust what they said. Because when Orrin Boston was murdered, the police, these same people, issued a statement saying he was shot and killed in a confrontation with the police. He attacked the police. That was not so. Now a policeman is being prosecuted for murder. When Kevin Andrews was shot and killed, they put out a statement saying he shot the police at Grove. Not so. The autopsy found that he never fired any bullets. The police investigation found he never fired, that he didn't even have a gun. Then Quinton Bacchus was killed by the police. The police issued first statement. Oh, he was seen with a gun. Police pursued him. He shot and shot at the police. Police shot him dead. Not true. They corrected that. Oh, he was the subject of an intelligence operation and he discovered a police officer and he fired at the police. Not so. And then we heard the judge who heads the police complaint authority, who investigated them, saying that one police corporal, sergeant, who was not even being charged yet, encouraged the Nobrega to empty the gun in him, meaning shoot every last bullet and kill him. He has not been charged. The judge also noted that every police officer who participated in the shooting lied. They have not been charged. Now we come to this, where a police sergeant is making allegations, very credible allegations. Blanham comes out, says all these nonsense that don't make sense. Police commissioner saying all this nonsense that don't make sense. I want the public, want us to trust them. Guyanese, don't believe a word from Wendell Blanham and Clifford Hicken. They have no credibility. The police force leadership has no integrity.
Well, of course, you know, one of the mantras of the PPP and their acolytes is that we in the opposition must provide evidence. You said the racists, provide evidence. You said the police corrupt, provide evidence. You said this, provide evidence. You said that they're doing better roads in the communities of their supporters, provide evidence. It's one of the things camps do, provide evidence. The point is, as you already pointed out, the police has a track record of lying. Why should we now believe that they are not lying? You see, it is part of the DNA of the police force to lie. They lie about simple things. They lie when they don't have to lie. Because part of using force with impunity, you don't cater for when you get hit. You don't cater for social media influencers who are in your face on the story. You cater for the traditional media, which publishes press releases. They don't do investigative journalism. They do. I mean, I'm sorry, I have lots of friends in the traditional media. but they don't do investigative. They go to press conference, except for one or two. They don't ask hard questions. It's press releases. And so they in the police force leadership don't cater for the kind of investigative. I ain't calling it journalism because I don't want the cuss and say I call in Kedaki and Rickford journalism. They do not cater for citizen reporting, citizen investigative journalism.
It's called public scrutiny. Public scrutiny.
And so when faced with that, the only thing they can do is lie. Lying is part of policing that is tinged with corruption and politicization. And that's why you find them lying. Iraqi Amsterdam, here we are, another scandal in the police family. In the last 2 years, they keep coming one day at a time, one day at a time. And we know why they keep coming is because of the work that you guys are doing in terms of keeping on top of the institutions of this country. Where is this thing going, Kedaki? And then back to Rickford.
Where's this thing going? Let me refer to the press statement before I go where this thing is going, and the friendship of the media. I must commend what's his name, Gordon Mosley today. He asked some hard questions, but every one of them was met with a response from Higgins. Gordon, you and I are friends. Gordon, you
so
and
inappropriate. So inappropriate.
Friends. And there's certain things I can't say here. I'll talk to you outside in the corridor. And you're telling me you want credibility? People must believe what the police is saying. Simple questions. It is either you have the answer, you don't have the answer. It has nothing to do with friendship. Right? That's number one. Number two, the scenario which you painted in terms of the politicals positioning people in the police force in the different divisions and so on, so that they can feel empowered or protected, is what is exactly responsible for the misbehavior of the police. Because it is, if I got you, you got to get me. And so long as the police protects the politicians, because don't fool yourself, the police knows a lot of the nastiness that the politicians are involved in. The politicians too have to protect the police. Otherwise, you will get many more Dion Bascoms. Right? And that is why citizens have to rise up and demand. Take to the streets, albeit, and demand an international investigation into this nastiness. Right? The only thing can suffice here is an international investigation. Don't tell me about OPR. Don't tell me about Police Complaints Authority. Without due respect, they're all tied up in the nastiness. No local. Forgive me for saying it. I will not trust any local with the investigation of this matter. It must be internationalized. Like Bascom says, why must I submit myself to the OPR when the OPR, I learned today, is headed by a deputy superintendent to investigate a superintendent, and at the end of the day, the report of the OPR has to go to the people who are accused. Trying the devil's case in hell. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't know the credibility of the top echelons of the Ghana police force. In my mind, is as far as east is from west. When it comes to assessing their credibility, there is no credibility there. Where is it going? Where is it going? It is not going to get better. It will not get better. The only time it will get better is when the citizens take to the streets and have this particular allegations, among others, investigated internationally. Otherwise, it is just play per usual. As old people usually say, they're going to talk for a week and a day. They're talking and done. And then people will go back into their usual modes and do their usual things. It is not the first time that the guy in the police force has been accused of extreme wickedness and corruption. Listen, we still have Monica Reese case out there. We still have Monica Reese case out there. We still have the allegations of planned assassination against the former President Granger. Blanum's name was called there, and that is where he was transferred. Y'all remember? We still have 2 Brazilians who were murdered on Regent Street shortly after paper shorts, I think. Right? They're still out. The Henry boys. These murders are still out there. And in the eyes of many of us, they were open and shut cases. Why do they still remain open cases?
Why do they still remain open
cases? Up until now, citizens have not been able to get this administration, political administration, nor the leadership of the Guyana Police Force to be truly answerable. And until we can make them truly answerable, don't expect it to get better. It's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse. Rick Fadbar, quickly, your closing thoughts?
Well, there must be an investigation. And even, like I said today, even if we have to tear the image and credibility of the Guyana Police Force, whatever is left of it, straight into the earth, we must do that. If we have to harm the police commissioner, if we have to pressure the president, there must be an investigation. We don't care about what they said today, coming out looking all nice and happy that, oh, we're just dismissing what this guy says. There must be an investigation. There's enough evidence that warrants an investigation. And the main fact that they feel enabled, Picken and Blanham feel enabled, tells you that the political directorate is countenancing their conduct. The political directorate is countenancing their criminality. There is evidence that I have seen when it comes out, people will be shocked, where police officers are killing people for business people. Killing people. Some of these same people at CID involved in murders. Allegations of them being involved in murders. People burying people on the buildings. Police officers tracing Bill from Nigel Hughes' office. And they're disappearing and their heads are being found around the place. This is mafia stuff. That's why we said today in the statement, the police force seemed to be a cartel working for Mexicans, mafias. This is not the Guyana police force. And all of this information will start to come out. And this is not Dion Bascom's doing. They can blame Dion Bascom all they want for coming forward. Every day, police officers are sending us information and evidence. Every day, the rank and file police officers are not in agreement with what is happening, and they want it to be the corruption to be exposed. And they're complaining, but they're scared. They're scared to go to the government because the government will tell back the police leadership, and those people will be killed. Bear in mind, the police officers are not only scared of the killers who are out there in the underworld, they're scared of being killed by police officers. You ask Dion Bascom, probably he would tell you. Yes. You ask some of the other police officers and they will tell you. The corruption in the Guyana police force is endemic. There must be an international investigation. We would not stop our advocacy until there's a proper investigation led by some international law enforcement agency, not the Guyana police force.
Rick Fadbar, Daki Amsterdam, thank you, brothers, for coming on and shedding more light on this developing story. It's not a
Thanks for having us.
It's not a new story because we have seen it, we have heard it dating back to 1992. We have a killer government, a government that kills people, a government that kills people with impunity. A policeman saw me after 12 on the road one night, and he said, Dr. Hinds, you know you shouldn't be on the road at this time. And looked at each other and knew exactly what he meant.
Hmm.
All right. A policeman told me, Doctor, I saw it Saturday night, I take a little night out. He said, you shouldn't be on the road at this time. We live in a country in which the government is the #1 killer.
Yes.
It's not just killing political opponents, but it's killing people who they perceive have secrets. We are living in a mafia country. Our work is a lot. Thank you, brothers, for helping us out on politics.
Thank you, Harry. Have a good night, everybody.
I will, of course, be calling on you all. Tomorrow night, I come back at 7 o'clock, the new time. 7 o'clock, we're going to be rocking and rolling from 7 o'clock tomorrow. I want to thank everybody for coming down tonight. I'm going to try to get Nigel Hughes on tomorrow night. I know he has been on the other shows, but I'll try to see if I can get him on tomorrow night. Until then, be good to yourself. Be safe. And remember, I love you. Here, the PPP going crazy because I say I love Black people. Why can't you say you love all people? Well, why you want to make my love for my wife or my children or my brothers and sisters conditional? I must say, I love my family, but I love my neighbor too. I love my family unconditionally. Do not put condition to it. I love you all. Black people, poor people, opposition people. I love you all. They want to go crazy, I will torment them. Because every night on this program, I'm going to say, I love black people. Good night. And tomorrow night,